Hello everybody and welcome to GameGate. My name is Luca. In this video we'll learn together how to play Race for the Galaxy, a game for 2 to 4 players that can be played from 1 to 6 with expansions. It's created by Tom Lemon and published by Rio Grande Games. In Race for the Galaxy, the players need to optimize their actions to build the most influential galactic empire by using cards that represent planets and technological and social developments. Which strategy are you gonna use to become the most powerful civilization of the universe? Let's see that together by learning how to play Race for the Galaxy. That's the setup for Race for the Galaxy. Each player picks a color and receives his set of 7 action cards. Shuffle the 5 start words that you can recognize by the numbering from 1 to 5 at the bottom right corner here, then deal 1 to each player. The remaining start words are shuffled with the rest of the cards and are treated as normal words. Place at the center of the table the card supply just shuffled, the victory point supply containing 12 victory points for each player in 1 and 5 victory point tokens. For example, for a 3-player game, add 36 victory points to the supply. In the end, make some space for the players' discards. The players now reveal their starting worlds. In case a player received Alpha Centauri as start world, draw a card from the supply and place it face down on this world. This is the starting windfall good of the world. Each player then draws 6 cards from the supply, he looks at them, then chooses 4 and discards 2. This was the setup. In Race for the Galaxy, the rounds are composed by 5 phases. These allow the players to perform many actions, such as draw cards or play cards from the hand. The players are not allowed to execute all the 5 phases each round. Instead, they need to secretly choose one phase by picking the corresponding action card, then reveal simultaneously the chosen action. Every player will then perform all the actions corresponding to the phases chosen by all the players, but the player who chose that action will get a bonus in performing it. After all the phases have been resolved, the players take their action cards back to the hand, and a new round begins. The game ends when a player has built 12 or more cards in his playing area, or when the victory point supply has run out. Let's now have a look at the cards that compose the hand of the players. These cards have many characteristics. We'll see further on what they do. By now we need to know that they are of only 2 types: worlds, represented by a circle, or developments, represented by a diamond at the top left corner. The numbers inside the circle and the diamond usually represent the cost needed to build the world or the development, while the numbers inside this hexagon represent the victory point that the card will provide at the end of the game if built by the player. Some developments have a question mark inside the hexagon. This means that the development will provide victory points depending on a specific criteria explained within a box on each card. We'll clarify these developments further on. Once a world or a development is built, the player will have to activate its powers during the phases of the round. Here on the left, we can see which powers the card provides during the corresponding game phases. For example, the Tourist World provides a power that must be activated during Phase 4, while the Space Marines provide a power that will be activated during Phase 3. We'll see later what these powers do in greater detail. So let's set aside for a while these cards that compose the hand of the players, and instead let's see together how the phases work. The players choose a phase by means of their action cards. These cards are numbered from 1 to 5, here at the top left corner, and that's the order they are resolved. So let's suppose that the red player chose Exploration, the blue player chose Develop, and the green player chose production. During this round, only these 3 phases out of 5 will be performed by the players, and they'll be carried out in this order. Starting from exploration, every player will perform the phase simultaneously, but the red player will receive a specific bonus because he chose it. Then every player will execute the develop phase, but only the blue player will receive a bonus. Then every player will then execute the production phase, but only the green player will receive a bonus specific to that phase. If 2 or more players choose the same phase, this would be carried out only once, and all those players would receive the corresponding bonus. The first phase, exploration, lets everybody draw 2 cards from the deck, keep one and discard the other. Depending on the action card chosen, the player who chose the phase may gain one of 2 bonuses. Exploration +5 allows to draw 7 cards instead of 2 to the player who chose the action. We see that from the symbol shown on the row corresponding to phase 1. This symbol allows to draw 5 cards more than meant by the phase. Exploration +1 allows instead to draw 3 cards instead of 2, and keep 2 instead of 1. We'll see that as well from the symbol on phase 1. This says that we can draw and keep 1 more card. When a phase is carried out, the players must also activate the powers of that phase shown on the cards they have already built. So during the exploration phase, the players must also use all the powers shown on phase 1 of their cards. These powers are always cumulative among them and the bonus. In this example, if a player had already built the expedition team and the separatists colony during the exploration, their phase 1 powers are activated, so the player is allowed to draw 3 more cards. So with exploration +5, the player draws 2 cards for the normal exploration phase, plus 5 cards since he chose the action, plus 3 cards for the powers of the cards he already has in his playing area. If the player didn't choose the action, he would have drawn 2 cards for the normal exploration phase, plus 3 for his cards. The second phase, develop, lets the player play a development card and build it on their play area. Let's now suppose that these cards here are the ones we have in our hand, while the cards here are those we have on our play area, together with the phase we chose. To pay the cost of a development, the player needs to discard as many cards as shown by the number within the diamond. So to build the interstellar bank, the player needs to discard 2 cards from his hand. The development action provides a discount of 1 to the player who chose it, to a minimum of 0. We see that from the symbol shown on phase 2 on the action card. So the player who chooses the phase will be able to build Interstellar Bank by discarding 1 card instead of 2. During the develop phase, the players must also use all the powers shown on phase 2 of all the cards they have in their play area. These powers are always cumulative among them and the bonus. For example, if a player has already built the investment development, he will always have a discount of 1 card towards the construction of any development, added to the discount he may have for choosing the phase. In this case, he may build the Interstellar Bank for free, thanks to the bonus for choosing the phase, plus the investment development. If the player didn't choose the action, he would have had a discount of 1, granted by the investment card. The third phase, settle, lets the players play a world and place it on their play area. The settle action allows the player who chose it to draw a card after settling the world and after paying its cost. Concerning the cost and the way a player may settle a world, we see that there are two different types of worlds. Civilian worlds. These have a black circle and a black number inside, such as the tourist world. And then we have military worlds. These have a red circle and a red number inside, such as the outlaw world. To colonize a civilian world, the player will always need to pay its cost by discarding as many cards as shown by the black number, for example, 4 cards for the tourist's planet. While to conquer a military world, a player can't discard cards. Instead, he needs to have as much military might in his play area as shown by the red number, that in this case represents the defense of the world. A player's military might is shown by this symbol. So in case a player previously built the expedition team, his military might is +1, so he may settle the outlaw planet. In this case as well, the player took advantage of cards that he already had in his play area. Now he used the power from phase 3, since we are executing this phase. The words we've considered until now have grey background. These words may never produce goods. Instead, the words that may produce a good are colored. For example, we see 2 blue words, namely producing novelty goods. The colored words are of 2 types. Words with an halo, such as the penal colony, are called windfall words, and they produce a good as soon as they are settled. To produce a good, the player simply draws a card and, without revealing it, places it on top of the world. While the words colored inside the circle do not produce a good as soon as they are settled, but they'll produce it during phase 5, as we'll see later. Let's see now the 4 types of goods. As we see here, as long as goods production is concerned, it really doesn't matter if a world is civilian or military. Each world simply produces a good according to its color. The goods may then be alien, if produced by a yellow world; genes, if produced by a green world; chemical, if produced by a brown world; and novelty goods, if produced by a blue world. The color of a world needs to be taken into account when using some powers from phase 3. For example, the replicant robots provide a discount of 2 cards when settling any civilian world, while the digging robots provide a discount of 1 card only when settling a brown civilian world. The 4th phase, Consume, forces all the players to consume, if possible, the goods they have on their worlds in exchange for victory points taken from the reserve or in exchange for cards. To do so, each player checks which of their cards have powers of good consumption in phase 4 and decides in which order to activate them, one at a time, until there's no more goods to consume. If, for example, a player has a good on New Survivors and a good on Rebels Deposit, he must consume them if he has a consume power even on other cards. In this case, the player has a consumption power on phase 4 on New Survivors and 1 on Flourishing Planet. The power on New Survivors makes the player discard any blue good, that in this case is consumed and discarded from the world itself, in exchange for a card drawn from the deck. The power of Flourishing Planet makes the player discard a good of any color in exchange for a victory point taken from the reserve. The goods may be consumed on any other world, so the player is forced to consume the one on Rebels Deposits. A player may always choose the order in which to activate the consume powers on his cards, but it is mandatory to activate each once until there are goods left to consume. As well as exploration, also the consume phase allows the player who chose it to take advantage of 2 different bonuses depending on the corresponding action card he selected. players who choose the consume 2 times victory points double the number of victory point chips, but not any other effects that their consume powers provide. In the previous example, had the player chosen this action, he would have gained 2 victory points instead of 1. To understand the bonus granted to the players who chose the action Consume Trade, let's remove the victory point gained and put back the goods on the worlds. Players who chose Consume Trade must sell 1 good before applying their consume powers and then draw as many cards as shown on the trade table. For example, trading a blue good allows to draw 2 cards, while trading a yellow good, 5 cards. In this example, a player may trade a brown good to draw 3 cards, then activate any of his consume powers. So consuming a good of any color for 1 victory point or a blue good for 1 card. During the consume phase, the players must also use all the powers shown on the phase trade and 4 of all the cards they have in their play area. These powers are always cumulative among them and the bonus. For example, if a player had already built Distant Planet, when he trades blue goods, he always earns 3 cards more than shown on the trade table. The 5th and last phase, production, allows the players to produce a good on their production worlds, those with colored, solid circles, having no good yet. Players who chose production may produce a good on a single windfall world, one with the halo, that normally wouldn't produce anything in this phase. So the player produces on Flourishing Planet and on Rebel's Deposit. During the production phase, the players must also use all the powers shown on phase 5 of all the cards they have in their play area. These powers are always cumulative among them and the bonus. For example, had the player built the Merchant Guild, he would have drawn 2 cards during phase 5. In case at the end of this phase, so at the end of the round, a player has more than 10 cards in his hand, he must discard now down to 10 cards. We can now understand the meaning of some of the development of cost 6. For example, the development Merchant's Guild provides 2 victory points for each production planet, those with solid background, built by the player, as the Flourishing Planet or the Distant Planet. The new Galactic Order provides as many victory points as the total military strength of the player. In the end, the Galactic Empire provides 2 victory points for each military rebel planet built by the player, such as the Rebels Planet, and +1 victory point for any other military planet. Once a player builds the 12th card on his playing area, or once the victory point reserve has run out, the players end the current turn and the game ends. If any player needs to receive victory point for the action performed during the last turn and the reserve is empty, they may take the victory points from the box. The players now count the victory point tokens they accumulated, plus the victory point granted by the cards they built, and the player having the most victory points is the winner. In case of a tie, the player with the highest total number of cards left in hand after discarding, or goods on their word, wins. If there are still a tie, the players share the victory. These were the rules to play Race for the Galaxy. Please subscribe to the channel so to keep up to date with the next How to Play. In case you have any questions, please leave a comment and I'll answer as soon as possible. See you soon on GameGate.